Go ahead. Why do you hate that I have Caleb Downs at number one?
Okay,
and if you say that it's just because he's a sophomore, I might lose my mind.
That's not the direct reason, but I think it's related. I really like Caleb Downs. I love Caleb Downs. He is one of the most freakish athletes in college football. And also, more importantly, the fact that he is a true freshman that played the way that he did for Alabama and had the impact that he did. The instincts, the range, what he was able to do as a true freshman in the SEC is just unheard of. We don't see stuff like that. So very clearly, before anyone gets pissed at me, Bama fans, remember I'm in your corner. Or no, this isn't Bama. This is Ohio State.
It'd be Ohio State fans.
I do support Ohio State sometimes. As much as I like him, I think that guys like Will Johnson and Malachi Starks are equally as freakishly athletic, and they're ahead of him because they've been playing college football for a year longer. I don't think that's an insane thing to say that I have two guys ranked ahead of him because they've been playing the game longer and they have developed a little bit more than a kid who was just a freshman this past year.
That's it? That's what you got?
But that's not a bad take. Don't act like that's a bad take.
I didn't say it was a bad take. I just thought you would have more substance.
Okay. All right.
I agree that there were times that he had freshman moments. I also would agree.
Wait. I didn't say he had issues.
I'm saying that he did.
Okay.
Like, I would agree that he had freshman moments. I'll give examples. When Malik Neighbors hit him with a double move and he got burned. Okay. All right. The best receiver in the country, in my opinion, hit you with a double move. All right, fine. What happened after that when he was shading Brian Thomas Jr.? I mean, Joe, there were a lot of times I remember in that game that they ran a lot of cover two, and he was on Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. Joe, I went back and watched that game last week. If you're watch AYS, you'll find out tonight. But was covering a guy one-on-one a lot and made a lot of plays on him. Same thing happened to him against Texas, but he also had massive plays versus Texas to start getting Bama back into the game. Joe, I think he's the best college football defender in the country, and I don't think it's remotely close.
That statement I disagree with, that we're going to go that far. Finish your point.
Okay, well, let me finish. I agree that he had moments, but I also think, for me, that name something that he doesn't do well above average. All these guys that are on this list, I've seen Malachi Starks really struggle in coverage. Very much struggle in coverage when he went up against Malik. Joe, again, you have a guy that we've seen against against the same players. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. Malachi Starks did not perform better than Caleb Downs. He did not.
Am I crazy? Was that not? Wait, why am I feel like I'm having a fever dream right now? Did LSU play Georgia this past year?
No.
We're not referencing shit from 2 years ago. Blake, come on.
But it's the same argument that you're making about him being a sophomore.
Okay, this is where I'm being misunderstood here. So first of all, you're saying that you agree with me that I'm saying he has freshman moments. I didn't say that. What I'm trying to explain here is that he's really far along, and he's a really gifted player, way further along than we typically expect. I just like these other three guys slightly more than him. We have to acknowledge that these guys are all also the three that I have ahead of them. Travis Hunter, Malachi Starks, and Will Johnson are all equally as rare of athletes.
Travis Hunter's not a better.
Rare.
I'm sorry, Travis Hunter's not a better DB than him. He's not.
Okay, that I will concede, and I think that's a different conversation,
which we will get into. All right. Okay. I don't disagree with Will Johnson, nor do I disagree with Malachi Starks. I'm with you. And I don't care that you have him above him. For me, though, when I watch him play, I don't know if there's anything that he does. You know who I think he is? I think he's Minkah Fitzpatrick. I really do. I think he's more talented than Minkah Fitzpatrick. And he certainly might be. But if he is that, Joe, we're talking about one of the best safeties that we've seen in college football in some time. right? Like we're talking about a safety that could, when he comes out, be a top 5 pick. He is that level of good. Experience, okay, whatever. But yes, I also remember, okay, multiple times in big games that he was the one that continued to show up and make plays.
I'm like, again, I'm in an agreement with you here that like everything that he does isn't just at like an above average level. Everything's like in the upper
I'm
category.
being conservative.
Okay. I'm willing to go as far as to say that for a freshman, he was in the elite category in most of the things that he did. I just think you're really undervaluing Malachi Starks, and for a guy that's listed at 6'2", 200 pounds,
he's my number 2. How am I?
Yeah, but you're making it seem like that, like he was inconsistent the way that you described him.
No, what I said was when both guys had the same opponents that they went against, one performed better, right? Like when we have common opponents and guys that they went up against, Tennessee is another one. Okay, he legitimately had better performances than Starks did. Joe,
I don't agree with that.
He had more tackles. He had more tackles for loss. He had legitimately every statistical category was better than him in. So you're using experience, okay, when I can legitimately look at him having better performances than Malachi Starks.
I don't think.
How do you disagree with that point?
I don't make my decision. I like to make my decisions off the film that I watched and when I evaluated these guys. You know, like so
you watched film and you didn't see him make more plays when statistically we know that he did.
I think that Starks' value. Wait. Starks' value is not always going to be something that shows
very fair
because he is. And you mentioned that you weren't 100% all in on his coverage ability. I really think that Malachi Starks is a really gifted coverage player.
I do too.
Before we get to Starks, I just kind of want to round out the thoughts here on Caleb, like to less on me arguing with you about him. I just want to talk the positives here. Him going to Ohio State, playing in that defense, very well coached defensive unit with Knowles. We've got Elks in the chat who's given us shit that we didn't bring up some of the other Ohio State DBs. We couldn't do a list of 5 Ohio State DBs. Those guys are good. They're top 15, but I don't know if I would necessarily put them in the same conversation as Downs and some of these other guys. But the unit that he is going to be playing in this upcoming year, Blake, is only going to set him up to be even better. I think that the ascension and the step forward is going to be that dramatic that what you're saying after this season, and when James Pierce Jr. and Deion Walker and Malachi Starks and Will Johnson are gone and they're going to the NFL, we're going to be talking about pretty confidently that Caleb Downs is the best player in college football and the best defender.
That's what I just said.
I'm saying in 2025, though. I don't think he is right now. I think 2025 he will be.
He had a safety that had 107 tackles. 70 of them were solo. I mean, at some point, like you got to take common opponents from the guys that.
Yeah.
So he was a better. Let's say it like this: you have Will Johnson at number 1, right? Okay.
Yes.
Who was a more impactful player in the game when they faced off with one another?
Will Johnson was.
I vehemently disagree with that.
The whole defense, the whole Michigan defense, Junior Colson and Will Johnson, Mason Graham, the 3 of those guys took over that game. And more importantly, Will Johnson's a big reason why they won the national championship.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. But there were 3 crucial third downs that Caleb Downs made the tackle and then Michigan had to punt on. Like, legitimately, when their offense could not get going and they needed stands. Joe, he was their heartbeat last year. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be rude. I mean, we can say that Alabama was a lot of things last year, but they were a playoff team.
Yeah,
they took the national champion to the
wire. They had a great secondary.
They had a fantastic secondary.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was able to roam, which it's going to be able to, and what he's going to be able to do the same at Ohio State this year because they have really good corners as well. Joe, he legitimately, down the stretch of the season, when he faced off against Georgia, when he faced off against Michigan, I think that I could still make the argument that he might have been the best player on the field at any given moment. Because he meant
again, I don't disagree with you on how gifted I think he is. I just think it's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. if the three guys that I'd ranked ahead of him didn't exist or they were in the last draft class, I'd be agreeing with you right now. Like
Well,
I would be 1,000% agreeing with you. I just think it's such a rare year, as you mentioned in the open, that we're in this position where all of these guys are really freaking good. And I
agree.
have to pay attention to the fact that, that Will Johnson has ridiculous instincts for a corner who's 6'2" and 200 pounds, and that Malachi Starks has the range to play sideline to sideline and the decision making to come down and play against the run and to also take the ball out of the air better than anybody else in college football. I really think that Caleb Downs is going to get there, Blake. I just don't want to crown him as the number one player just yet when there's already so much freaking talent in this defensive back group.
Very fair. And look, I'll go to your number one here.
Make sure you check out Bet Online for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts.